Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today we are reviewing the RX-78-2 Gundam in the SD Generation 0 line. This model is the 200th model in the BB Senshi line, so it was, I think, a little bit of a special release. You can see they have that gold sticker there in the bottom left-hand corner that says 200. And yeah, why don't we get right into the review? So this was, I don't want to say it was a huge deal for me, but this kit was a pretty big deal for me because there were a lot of firsts here. So this is the first kit that I airbrushed completely, or I really should say airbrushed at all. It was my first time airbrushing, and it was definitely a learning experience. It was also my first time using the liquid chrome pen by Molotov, and that was a fantastic experience. You can see here, I'll get into it when we get to the thrusters, but this liquid chrome, I mean, this is just drawn onto the spoon here, and it has an amazing chrome finish. So this stuff is like magic. It was my first time using that, and overall I'm really happy with how the kit came out. Like I said, there were some issues, there was some trouble. At first, my airbrush kept clogging up like every 2 minutes. It was driving me crazy. Eventually, I ended up getting some paints by Vallejo that were designed specifically for airbrushing instead of trying to thin them myself. And I think as a newbie, that's definitely the way to go. Sorry, also, there was another first for this, which it was my first time using Putty. So a lot of firsts on this kit, and I kind of wanted to use this kit as a little bit of a warm-up as I prepare myself to jump into my first vintage master grade kit, which I think is going to need quite a bit of work. So yeah, those were, I think, some of the elements putting this together, but overall I think it's just a really cool, really nice looking kit. Is it perfect? No, but I mean, I'm super happy with how it came out. You can see the thrusters there. They've got chrome, and then I went and dirtied them up a little bit with some Tamiya panel lining. And yeah, I just drew that chrome right on there with the pen. No need to airbrush anything. I painted the inside of the thrusters red there. You can see some details here on the bottom of the feet. Not crazy happy with how those came out, just because with this kit as a whole, you can probably see I went for that very kind of straight out of the anime cartoon kind of feel. And so there were some places where with the ink it got a little bit grittier, a little bit, I don't know, maybe more realistic or weathered looking, and I wasn't too jazzed about that. The inside of the shoulder panels is one example where that happened. But overall, really happy with how it came out on the Gundam itself. On the core launcher, I believe it's the core launcher. I always get the core booster and core fighter and core launcher confused, but not super happy with how this came out. But compared to where we started, and I'll throw some before and afters up on the screen right now, I think it's fine. I don't think this is something that I'm really going to display. I think, yeah, I just don't really see it having a place on my shelf. But it was a fun little experiment. It was a fun challenge. Most of this is hand painted. Really everything besides the base colors. And then this bottom piece here I had to putty and fill up, but as you can see, it still kind of has that gloss coat, because after a while I kind of just realized not only am I not going to display this, but the bottom is never going to be seen. So, you know, it was a bit of a learning experience. What I did learn is that the Tamiya putty will melt through your plastic if it's thin, and I don't know if you can see here, but on the side of the window of the cockpit, I guess, the plastic is kind of like, has this rippling to it. And yeah, that's where the plastic started to cave in and melt, where I went and puttied and filled in this hole that was there. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but really good to know. Like, that was my whole thesis for this, right? It was like, get a cheap, short little kit to build, quick build, and learn with it so that I don't melt the plastic on like a rare vintage master grade or something like that, because that would really suck. So yeah, so just jumping through some footage I recorded here of the kit showcasing the different weapons. I think all of the weapons look really great. My only complaint here is that the beam rifle is a little snug to fit in the hand. Now that could be a little bit of the painting that I did. It could just be the mold. But all in all, I'm generally not the biggest fan of beam rifles if there are cooler things like bazookas and sabers to showcase the Gundam with. So yeah, I will be showcasing this primarily, probably swapping between the bazooka and the beam saber. The beam saber I am just super excited with. So I had this kit finished for about a week now, and I was waiting on this fluorescent magenta airbrush paint to come from Vallejo. This is from the Mecha model line of airbrush paints, and I am just, I'm so happy. This is, you know, my whole childhood, I would always see these really cool airbrush fade effects on the cheaper kits, the no grades and such that had beam sabers that weren't with clear parts, and I would just absolutely fail to hand brush that painting effect. It's really nearly impossible to get that with a hand brush technique, unless you're using oil paints and you have some just really great blending techniques. But with the airbrush, I think it just looks fantastic. And you know, I was thinking before, I almost prefer that kind of look, to be honest, to clear parts. To me, it has, you know, I don't know if it's because I have a background with, you know, D&D minis and just other board game minis that can be painted, but I kind of prefer that, not statue, but I guess just figure feel, where I feel like the clear parts tend to more often than not make the kit look cheaper. There are some exceptions. I think clear eyes can look really cool. There are some places where clear parts can be really nice, but I think beam sabers, I don't know, I'm just not, you know, beam sabers and especially beam effect parts, like on, I can think of the Sazabi, for example, 100% of the time, just that's how my taste is. I would prefer that being airbrushed with some really cool fade effects. That's just the kind of style I like. So overall, very happy with how the beam saber came out. And what else can I say about this kit? I mean, I love it. It was really fun hand painting all the details. So the Vulcans on the head are hand painted. Those are just white, as you can see in the before and afters that I pop up on the screen here. There's a few little details, right? The little piece here on the skirt armor, that little red area on the head, and then also on the back of the head. But overall, the color separation is pretty decent. And actually, I used the sticker that came with the eyes for the eyes, and I think it looks, honestly, it looks really fantastic. I went ahead and, you know, like once I matte coated it, it really kind of just locked together, and I'm really happy also with how I color matched the yellow between the sticker and the other pieces. I think it looks pretty good there. But yeah, my one complaint, I guess, would be in the sculpt. There are some things that are a little funky. I think these panel lines here in the face, it looks like I did a rough job panel lining, but actually the sculpt is just not great in that area. It was just a little bit warped. And also, I don't know if you can see, but on the V-fin, if you kind of, here, if you look at from this angle, there's a little bit more white space to the left than there is to the right. And no matter how you try to nudge it and shift it, it just remains that way. So that's a little bit of a downer, but I think most of the time I kind of like angle my kits maybe like turn the head a little bit like this and have it in some sort of a more dynamic pose. So you don't really tend to look at it straight on. So that's not the end of the world, but it is a bit of a downer. Because little things like that, it's in a really noticeable place, right? If it's something like, I don't know, maybe something on the back or something on the, you know, the ankles where you don't really see it, that's not a big deal. But when it's right in the middle of the head, it's kind of a bit of a downer. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much most of what I have to say with the kit. Overall, I'm really, really happy. I can definitely see my skills improving with this kit. One more thing I will note is that I did not put any decals on the shoulders, and that's because it came with basic stickers. And I think I do actually have some of the white base water slides from just some other random water slide packs I have, the little WB. But honestly, I kind of like how it looks without that on there. I don't know, I think it just lends to this cartoony kind of like hand-drawn feel I was going with. So I'm probably not going to throw water slides on there. But yeah, super happy with this. It's probably, I think, the best of all the kits I've done so far in terms of quality, and I think a lot of that is just from the airbrushing. And yeah, overall, I guess I would give this kit probably maybe like a 4.4 out of 5. I don't know if I would give it a full, I don't know if it's like, you could say 4.5, somewhere around there. It definitely has its flaws, but it was really fun to build, really easy to build, with a few exceptions, a few small places where you needed to do some putty. Yeah, and I just love it. It looks great on the shelf. One other thing, sorry I keep adding things, is the back of the V-fins, and I'll show some before photos. They were completely hollow, and I had to go and putty those in. And yeah, that was a really easy putty job, but that is one more place where I did put putty. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my review of the RX-78-2 in the G Generation Zero line from 1999. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, if you liked, please subscribe. If you like retro gaming, I've got a link to my retro gaming channel down at the bottom of the page, where I think we're just about hitting 200 subscribers, so that's fun. I also have a music page where we do a lot of indie music stuff, so if you like indie rock or independent music in general, maybe check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.